Now, two of the drivers racing in the Advantage Motorsport Future Classic Series is Robin and Thomas Gray, which have a lovely looking Pontiac Trans Am. First off, Robin, tell us a little bit about the car.
Well, it sort of started life about 2003, 2002. We built it for a customer, and then he ran out of money, and we sort of, he said, I'm going to just store the car. So I said, well, you better let me drive it then. So he said, OK, take it, do what you like.
And you got your son Thomas racing with you as well. Thomas, how did you get involved in motorsport?
I started out with schools karting. Yeah, I did that for years and then basically jumped straight into this thing.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was good fun. Bit of a handful.
And in terms of taking part, who got who into motor racing?
Oh, definitely Dad got me into it, yeah.
Well, the Future Classics are on the grid. Bill Lancashire's TVR Tuscan on pole. Alongside is the 928 Series 4 of Mark Chilton. Lights are on, lights go out, and it's a good start by the Tuscan in the hands of the 66-year-old from Warwick, the former Westfield champion, as we ride on board with Tony McAvoy at the wheel of his Porsche 944, looking to try and put under pressure Stephen Scott Dunwoody at the wheel of his Ford Sapphire Cosworth. This huge field of cars, as with all of the CSCC categories, enormous variety amongst them, pick their way out of Allard and in towards the braking area for Campbell Cobb and Seagrave for the first time. As further down through the order we can see some of the fights that are going on. That includes that car there, car number 93, which is the fairly unusual XR8 Ford Sierra in the hands of Tom Brenton. Here we go, Charlie Brisker. There's contact between Charlie Brisker and that looked like the Morgan of the Carters, and Charlie Brisker is spun around at the wheel of his BMW and should be able to continue, but I suspect there's damage to that car where it made contact with the hugely unfortunate Morgan that was in the hands of Richard Carter. Race continues on. Rest of the field working their way through. There goes the Ford Mustang Mark 1 of Marcus Bicknell under pressure from what will be the Miles Maserati Porsche, and Miles looking to try and work his way through and ahead of the 68-year-old director from Chanfolk St Giles. And as he tries to work his way ahead, he loses a place actually, because Alex Livesley sneaks his way through. Alex Livesley has had 2 wins so far this season in the Advantage Motorsport Future Classics. He took a win at Snetterton, he took a win at Brands Hatch, so come the pit stop window, he's got 60 seconds in the pits as they pass the stricken car of Charlie Brisker. And also involved is car number 82, that's Gary Fletcher limping the Droop Snoop Forenza back into the pits. Stephen Scott Dunwoody under huge pressure from the Porsche of Tim Bates, who's being attacked now by the Ford Mustang Mark 1 in the hands of Marcus Bicknell. Side by side they go down past Brooklands and up Woodham Hill. Marcus Bicknell looking to his left to see exactly where the slightly lighter Porsche is, so the Porsche should surely have it on the brakes. Turn their way in towards the club chicane. Stephen Scott Dunwoody hangs on to the place. Tim Bates does indeed hang on to his position. Marcus Bicknell is right behind. Then they've got Alex Livesley at the wheel of the Jensen Healey, now under pressure from the red Porsche. That's Miles Maserati not too far away. Off and onto the grass, that's the Ford Sierra XR8 in the hands of Tom Brenton, a car which is a fairly rare old beast. They only produce them out down in Australia and New Zealand. V8 engined Ford Sierra retakes to the circuit but has lost time. And also now heading back out of the pit lane comes what was Tony Marion. Tony Marion, an instructor here at the circuit. He started 4th and is looking to try and rejoin the circuit well and truly up through the order. Here's a good squabble going on. Car number 57, David Hall, the Droop Snoop Forenza, fighting away with Tony Crudginson's Dolomite Sprint. Those two squabbling away for what will be places down towards the bottom of the top 15 at the moment. As into the pit lane, the pit window well and truly open now. Mark Chilton into the pits. He is another one of the car that has an extra 30-second penalty because he scored victory at Silverstone. Tim Bates now has taken up the lead of the race whilst everybody else is pitting, but he dives for the pit lane as well, so the man from Sutton Coldfield is in at the wheel of his 911 SC. As back out of the pit lane goes Mark Chilton, so job done as far as he is concerned. The number 29 Porsche that was in the hands of Keir Edmonds is now in the hands of Matthew Stanley. The man from Stratford-upon-Avon heads back out onto circuit. As further down through the order, Stephen Scott Dunwoody at the wheel of the Sapphire Cosworth has now started to pull away because there's a squabble on behind. The Sierra Cosworth of Mike Watson fighting away with the Porsche in the hands of Tony McAvoy as they head over the start-finish line. And Miles Maserati's Porsche isn't that far behind as we ride on board. You can see the car ahead, you can see in the mirror the car behind, the red Porsche of Miles Maserati, and Mike Watson under pressure from Tony McAvoy. Tony would dearly like to try and work his way through the 35-year-old web designer from High Wycombe, but he's going to lose out as Miles Maserati, the man from Pinner, dives up the inside, so it's the red Porsche that gets ahead of the largely light blue 944. and a big spin at the club chicane, and that is John Fox having his first weekend of racing with us in the Classic Sports Car Club. The Triumph TR7 V8 sitting in the middle of the club chicane. Into the pits comes Brian Rides. He is about to vacate the Lotus, and Charles Alexander is about to take over. Safety car is out there as a result of that spin for John Fox at the club chicane. His Triumph TR7 V8 was trying to get started, and as the marshals are on hand, it looks so extinguishant has been used. I would suggest that's heat soak, and with trying to restart the engine, the car has just briefly caught fire. Shouldn't take long to sort it out, as concluding the pit stops is Charles Alexander now, so his Lotus heading back out onto the circuit. Pit window is now closed by the look of things. As into the pit lane comes Bill Lancashire. He hasn't pitted as yet by the look of things. Howard Lancashire still suited and booted and ready to go now. Is this too late for the pit window? It is the yellow Porsche, number 156 of the man from Whitchurch, the former oval racer and bike racer, Tony Marion, that is leading at this stage, and the Tuscans being serviced in the pit lane. But were they a bit too late? Tony Marion is going to get the race back underway at the wheel of his Porsche. It will be Mark Chilton's Porsche 928 that is third in the queue but second in the race. He's got the lapped Ford Mustang of Steve Everson to deal with. He can't overtake until he gets to the start finish line, and he now squeezes his way past that lapped car there. So the race is on for the lead of the race, the 944 Series 2 leading the 928 Series 4 as they get the race back underway. And up to third in the race, from the very tail end of the field, having qualified out of session, is the silver car with its light green nose. That's Miles Castledini at the wheel of the Davrian Mark 8. I did say he was worth watching out for, and the 38-year-old from Leamington Spa going great guns. Back out of the pits comes the TVR Tuscan. That's now in the hands of Howard Lancashire, but were they a little bit too late? The squabble is on for the lead of the race. Mark Chilton's gone through and has taken up the lead as they head round through Church Corner. And now the 36-year-old Porsche technician from Birmingham, who last was at Thruxton watching his dad race in a Porsche 959 back in the 80s, leads the race. As for Howard Lancashire, well, it looks as though whilst the TVR Tuscan is still there and circulating and leading on the road, we hear that they will be demoted come the results, because they did just pit outside of the pit window. So the Tuscan had been going so superbly well, but it all looks as though it may well come undone for them once the results are issued at the end of the race. So over the start-finish line goes the Tuscan, still pressing on as hard as it possibly can, as here is Miles Castledini at the wheel of the Davrian Mark 8. Let's not forget, from the tail end of the field, 34th when the race got underway. He is now putting a lap on Steve Everson's Mustang Mark 1 as we ride on board. Glorious noise of the V8, great soundtrack, isn't it, as they head through the back part of the circuit. But it is Mark Chilton that is pressing on in the lead of the race, former Porsche Open racer, as we ride on board with Miles Castledini working his way up through the order, trying to get himself alongside Tony Marion this time at the wheel of the Davrian, and he's got the inside lane. Tony Marion snatches the brakes, the unloaded wheel just turning in towards the club chicane. So Miles Castledini now up into second from the tail end of the field. What a great drive it is, and the yellow Porsche is down to third position. Over the start-finish line, they put a lap on Charles Alexander's Lotus in the process, staying neatly out of the way. Tony Marion, having lost second place, is trying to hang on to the coattails of the Davrian, but not to be at this stage. Looks as though already the advantage is building all of the time, whilst Mark Chilton up the road leads the race. But what can this 944 Series 2 do in the hands of Tony Marion? And he's in third position. He's got a comfortable gap between himself and the car that sits there in fourth place at this stage, as we ride on board with Miles Castledini, who's slowing back through, and past him goes Tony Marion. And what a shame for Miles Castledini. What a drive from the tail end of the field, but it's not, by the look of things, going to net him a result. Further down through the order, this is the Mazda MX-5 that's busy squabbling away. David Bryant's Toyota MRT, it is just ahead. And for the number 134 MX-5, it'll have Dan Rogers behind the wheel. They're both hounding David Hall's Droop Snook Forenza. So through they go, David Hall, David Bryant, and then the Mazda MX-5 thereafter, as poor old Miles Castledini heads into retirement. What a shame for Miles Castledini, but what a drive for Mark Chilton. He had a 30-second penalty following his success at Silverstone earlier on in the year, and he claims a second win of the season here at Thruxton in the Advantage Motorsports Future Classic. It's a win for the 928. Second place is the 944 of Tony Marion, and we await the arrival of the third place car through, which should be the Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth of Stephen Scott Dunwoody. So Chiltern wins from Marion and Scott Dunwoody in third place. The leading 1970s car home was Miles Maserati, so he wins Group 1. Tim Bates in fifth place, and the Lillian Tucker Ford Sierra was in sixth. Tony McAvoy, Graham Scarborough, Jenkins and Rogers with their Mazda in ninth place, and Tom Brenton in the usual XR8 is there in 10th place. Martin Adams was in 11th, Bicknell and Everson in 12th place, with Jeff Beale, David Bryant and David Hall completing the top 15. The Lancashire's TVR Tuscan did pit outside of the window. They were given a 2-lap penalty and will finish down in what was a very frustrating 20th position. Matt Suckling, though, was able to scoop up all of our drivers and have a chat to them on the podium. Some very, very happy faces in the final race here at Thruxton.
Mark, are you happy with that win?
I am. With the penalty, I wasn't expecting it, so luckily the safety car bunched us all up and I managed to get back in front, but being quite a heavy car, it was struggling towards him with the tyres. I was a bit worried, but luckily it lasted in the end and got the win.
You tried your best.
I did my best with what I had, really, but this is my circuit, so obviously everybody's saying, well, you're going to do well, so I'd have had my, I won't say anything rude, kicked if I hadn't done something.
Stephen, the Sierra had the pressure towards the end there.
Oh, we had no tyres left on the car at all. It was sliding everywhere. It's the first time I've come to Thruxton. I didn't realise how bad it was on tyres.
Miles Maserati, winner there of the 70s part of the Future Classics, and you pushed right hard towards the end to get on the podium.
I didn't have a clue where I was in the 70s race. I knew that I go for overall more than class wins, and I was just trying to catch anyone who was ahead of me, really. Came out of the pits. I didn't have the greatest pit stop for some reason. I couldn't get out of the car in time. But yeah, good car. Great race. I love Thruxton. Just want to keep coming back, to be honest. It's a great race.
Congratulations to our winners, Christian Pittard in the Open Series, Nigel Ames and Danny Cassara in the Tin Tops, and Mark Chilton in the Future Classics. We've had all of the thrills, the spills and the drama from the Classic Sports Car Club at Thruxton. We'll see you next time.